Well, hey there, gang, and welcome to one of the most fun weeks of the semester in our Intro to Sports Media class. It is our annual NCAA Men's Tournament Analytics Project, where you will pick the 4 teams that you think will advance to this year's Final Four. But it is easier said than done. There are a few caveats to this, all of which are in the assignment tab in Canvas for you to see. So let's take a look right now. So you've got to have your 4 teams picked by Wednesday before class, but there is an individual and class-wide component to this project. You're going to pick your Final Four, but here's the challenging part. The sum of your seeds must be 15 or higher. That means if you pick a number 1 seed to make this year's Final Four, the other 3 teams that you select have to total 14, right? So look at the screen there. If you pick, say, UVA or Duke, right, whoever, or let's say Duke. Duke's a number 1 seed. If you pick Duke to go to the Final Four, your other 3 teams have to add up to 14. So as long as your seeds are 15 or higher, you're good. So if you pick 2 number 1 seeds to make the Final Four, which has happened in the past, that means you got to have a 7 or a 6 or both on the other side, right? So those are your Final Four teams. Now, again, there's a class component to this as well, because we're going to determine who are class-wide Final Four teams. There's also a written essay component to this. I need 200 words on why you picked each team to make the Final Four. You can submit the essay in Canvas, and your reasoning has to be data-based. It can't be, well, I'm picking Duke because Boozer's the best player in the country. That's not going to work. You need to give me some data. You need to provide the analytics. As we've discussed in class before, some of the greatest sports data analysts, like Ken Pomeroy, for example, are Hokies. So that's what I want you to do. This is just as much a math and data analytics assignment as it is a basketball assignment. So where do you get the data? Okay, so this is where you are going to have all of the data that the NCAA has, including the NCAA team sheets. So let's take a look at what that looks like for the bracket. Okay, so here's Duke's team sheet, right? It gives you everything you need to know about Duke. So if you look on the bottom left, it shows all their quadrant 1 wins. And if you look closely, Duke this year was 17-2 in quad 1 games. So what is a quadrant 1 game? That means if it was home, it was against a team ranked 1 through 30. If the game was played in a neutral site, the opponent was ranked 1 through 50. And if it was a road game, a quad 1 win would be teams ranked 1 through 75. So if you look closely, you can see where Duke was really good. The Blue Devils beat Michigan. They beat Florida. They beat Michigan State. Look at the quadrant 2 wins. You can exactly see how Duke was. And then on the top right, you can see, well, Duke's strength of schedule was ranked 9th. And their non-conference strength of schedule was ranked 9th as well. If you look closely under predictive metrics, you'll also see that in BPI Pomeroy, which we're going to look at in a close second, Duke is number 1 going into this tournament, as you'd see them as to, well, how good they would do. So Pomeroy has them number 1. All right, so that is Duke's team sheet. And you have the access to all of the team sheets in the NCAA tournament, exactly the same thing that the committee looks at when it picked the teams that are going to the tournament and seeded them as well. So let's look, for example, at other teams. Let's look at Louisville's team sheet. You can see, the Cardinals had a really good season, not as good as Duke's though, right? You can see their quad 1 wins and what they did against opponents in each quad. And you can see that their result-based metrics, they're 26th, and 24th, but in their predictive metrics, meaning how do you think they'll do in this tournament, they're a little higher. Okay, so there's an example of what the team sheets look like. What are some of these advanced analytics? Well, Ken Pomeroy, our Hokie friend, on his website, Ken Pom, gives you the opportunity to really take a deep dive into every team. Let's say that you think teams are going to advance in this week's tournament because they're really good offensively. So let's look at the adjusted offense of every team in the tournament, every team in the country, and you'll see this year the number 1 offensive team in college basketball was actually Illinois. Purdue was 2nd, Alabama was 3rd, and Duke was 4th. So, who has the best offense? This isn't who scores the most points per game or who has the highest field goal percentage. This takes in a lot of things, most notably points per 100 possessions. So, Illinois was the best offensive team. Now, let's say you are hanging your hat on defense. Who really was the best defensive team? Again, we're not looking at points per game or turnovers created or field goal percentage defense or blocked shots or three-point percentage defense. We're taking all of this into consideration. And again, it's points per 100 possessions. That means if you're a team that fouls a lot, you're not really good defensively. In fact, the teams that foul the most are actually poor defensive teams, okay? But if you're going by field goal defense, if a team makes 2 free throws or 3 free throws against you, well, that doesn't impact your field goal percentage defense, right? So this is points per game over 100 possessions. So who were the best defensive teams in the country? Well, it was actually Michigan. The top adjusted defensive team was Michigan, Duke was second, and Arizona was third. So there's an example, again, of the advanced analytics. I've also provided links to all the NCAA stats for you, right? And again, all of this is in Canvas. They're all there. Historically, teams that do well offensively do better in the tournament. It used to be you would look at things like who had senior guards. There was a stretch where teams that had veteran backcourts seemed to do the best in the NCAA tournament. Well, now, with so many players leaving early, with the transfer portal, those types of things, the experience of the players is kind of the same, right? The top college players oftentimes are freshmen. And so there are no senior-dominated teams. There are some, but not as many as there used to. So the metric might be a veteran coach who's been through this before, who has gone to Final Fours before. So again, you're going to pick your 4 teams to go to the Final Four. All of the details are in the assignment tab in Canvas, and I can't stress this enough. You can't pick the 4 number 1 seeds. If you pick 2 number 1s, 4 number 1s, or 2 number 1s and 2 number 2s, you're going to get an F because the 4 seeds have to total 15 at the least. So let's look at the bracket now. Here's a blank bracket. You know how this works. Each region has a team seeded 1 through 16. You have to pick 4 teams total of 15. And then what we're going to do in class on Wednesday, once we all have a chance to look at and digest the data that you are doing individually, we'll compile it as a class. And then we will release our official Intro to Sports Media Virginia Tech Final Four projection. And that is what you've seen in the past when the media has come to class and we have TV cameras in the classroom and writers, whatnot. They want to know what the class cumulative, the class Final Four pick is. So that's what we're going to do Wednesday. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. But take a close look at the analytics. What's important to you? Is it offense? Is it defense? Is it who's playing well? Is it who has done well lately? Maybe you think Florida's loss in the SEC tournament is good. And in your essay, you're going to tell me, traditionally you don't win 18 games to end the season and then win 6 in a row in the tournament. That a lot of these championship teams actually take a loss in their conference tournament. Or is Duke going to be the team that won all these games, only lost 2 all season, right? Win all these games, win the ACC tournament, and then rip off 6 in a row in the NCAA tournament. That's what the numbers tell us. And that's what I'm looking forward to seeing from you this week. Again, it's due Wednesday before class, but you need to be in the classroom in McBride on Wednesday when we're going to debate the 4 teams that we will announce collectively our official Virginia Tech Sports Media Analytics School of Communication Final Four projections for 2026. All the details in Canvas. Shoot me a question via email if you got one. See you then.